There's a man standing in a locked pump room, waiting for Juliet to walk through the door. He's been her enemy since the moment she stepped off that elevator. And yet, when she finally sees him, he doesn't attack. He doesn't even reach for a weapon. He just says 4 words, "You need to listen to me."
You need to listen to me.
Then she slams the door in his face. But here's the question nobody's asking loud enough. What if she just walked away from the one person trying to help her? If you've been watching Silo, you know allegiances in this world are never fixed. Everyone is playing an angle, everyone has a secret, and the moment you think you figured out who's good and who's bad, the show flips the board. Episode 4, Whatever You Do, Don't Go Home, does exactly that with Sims. And by the end of the hour, it drops something even bigger. A man we watched die, breathing, burned, and very much alive in the dark. Let's start with where Juliet finds herself at the top of the episode, because it's about as bad as things get. She's unconscious and medical, and Camille has already set the machinery of her death in motion, dressing it up as a tragic, heroic accident, so the algorithm doesn't have to make the harder call of dosing the entire water supply. Sims offers to be the one who does it. Camille refuses. She insists it has to be her hands, her decision. And that detail matters more than it seems, because it tells us Camille doesn't fully trust Sims with something this important, which raises the question of whether her instincts about him are already starting to slip. The person who actually saves Juliet isn't Sims at all. It's her nurse, Amy, the same nurse we'd spent the last few episodes assuming was working against her. Amy turns on the guard watching Juliet, drags her through a passage she clearly knows by heart, and admits something that should stop you cold. She'd been secretly swapping out Juliet's memory-suppressing medication long before Juliet even started refusing to take it herself. Someone told her to do it, she won't say who, and that's the first thread we need to hold on to. Because somebody with real influence inside this silo wanted Juliet's memories to come back, and they've been working toward that for a while, quietly, patiently, without ever showing their face. Amy sacrifices herself to buy Juliet time, getting caught on purpose and lying straight to Johnny's face about where Juliet went. Before she does, she gives Juliet one instruction: head for the pump room on level 76. And when Juliet gets there, Sims is already waiting. This is where the episode starts asking us to look twice. On the surface, Sims looks loyal to Camille and to the algorithm. He tells Camille afterward that he knows Amy's file well enough to guess where she might take Juliet, and he volunteers to handle it himself, framing it like he's still fully on his wife's side. But sit with the details for a second. How would Sims know Juliet was heading to that exact pump room, unless he'd arranged it with Amy in advance? Why would he come out of hiding and try to talk to Juliet the moment she opened the door, instead of staying quiet and letting her walk further into a trap? A man trying to capture someone doesn't announce himself. A man trying to warn someone does. There's also his emotional state to consider. Sims has spent this entire season displaced, watching the algorithm choose his wife over him as its human confidant, watching Camille step into a role he probably expected to share. A man in that position doesn't necessarily stay loyal out of conviction anymore. He stays loyal out of habit, or fear, or the simple fact that he doesn't have anywhere else to go. That kind of quiet resentment is exactly the soil something like a change of heart could grow in. It doesn't mean Sims has fully flipped, but it means the door isn't closed either, and the show seems to want us wondering. So here's the first real question we're sitting with. If Sims is starting to pull away from Camille and the algorithm, what would actually push him the rest of the way? Loyalty like his doesn't crack over one bad week. It cracks when someone finally shows him proof that the system he's been protecting isn't protecting anyone at all. Now let's get to the moment that changes everything else we thought we knew. Juliet and Shirley make it down to the digger void, helped along by Knox and a nervous mechanic named Ossie who agrees to stall anyone who comes looking. Along the way, there's a small, quiet scene between Juliet and Shirley that's easy to miss, but says a lot. Juliet admits that even with her memory scrambled, some instinct about Knox stuck with her, and Shirley confirms the two of them never got along. It's a small crack of the real Juliet showing through the fog, and it matters because it tells us her sense of who to trust is starting to come back online, piece by piece, even before her full memory does. Then, they reach the sealed door Martha Walker swore was closed for good. A knock pulls Shirley away, and Juliet is left alone inside. That's when a cough breaks the silence. A hoarse voice says her name, and lying in a bed, burned but breathing, is Bernard. We were told he died. Flatly, plainly, back in episode 1, we were shown Robert choking him and then cremating the body. That was the story the show gave us. And it was a lie. So the real question isn't just how Bernard survived. It's why anyone would go through the trouble of faking his death this convincingly, and what that tells us about who's really been controlling information inside this silo all along. Here's the most likely explanation, based on what we know from the airlock scene between Juliet and Bernard earlier in the season. In that moment, Bernard learned something crucial from her, that there's a way to shut down the safeguard procedure entirely. That's not a small piece of information. That's the kind of secret that could unravel the algorithm's entire grip on the silo. When the fire hit during that scene, Juliet came out relatively unscathed, but Bernard was badly burned. The algorithm needed a stabilizing presence, and it chose Juliet over him. So what if Bernard, badly injured and suddenly expendable, told Robert exactly what Juliet knew? That would explain why Robert took him down to the digger void instead of letting him die. It would explain why Robert has apparently been nursing him back to health in secret. And it raises the strong possibility that Robert is the same person who's been quietly working with Amy to bring Juliet's memories back, setting up a moment where Juliet and Bernard can finally reunite and use what they both know to bring the safeguard procedure down together. If that's true, it means the biggest threat to the algorithm this season isn't coming from outside the silo at all. It's coming from two men who are supposed to be enemies working together in the dark, waiting for the one person who can actually finish what they started. So here's the question worth sitting with until the next episode. If Bernard and Robert really are working together now, what changed between them? They were at odds all through season 2. Something happened to bring them onto the same side. And the show hasn't shown us what yet. And that leaves us exactly where episode 4 wants us, staring at a locked door, a man who might be an ally standing on the other side of it, and a supposedly dead man breathing in the dark. Both of them holding pieces of a truth Juliet hasn't put together yet. The most dangerous person in this silo right now might not be Camille or the algorithm or even Sims. It might be whoever's been pulling the strings quietly enough that nobody's noticed yet. What do you think? Is Sims genuinely turning against Camille, or is this a longer game he's playing to protect himself either way? By the end of episode 4, Silo has quietly rewritten everything we thought we understood about who's really in control. For 3 seasons, we've been trained to sort every character into neat boxes: hero, villain, victim, enemy. But this episode makes it clear that those boxes were never real to begin with. Sims may not be the loyal enforcer we assumed. Bernard's survival proves that, in this silo, death is just another story someone chose to tell, carefully staged and believed without question because nobody had a reason to look closer. What makes this twist land so hard isn't just the shock of seeing Bernard breathing in the dark. It's the realization that two men who were supposed to be enemies might now be working from the same shadows, quietly building towards something the algorithm never saw coming. And somewhere in the middle of it all is Juliet, still piecing her memory back together, still catching up to a truth everyone around her already seems to know. The scariest part of this episode isn't what's been hidden, it's how easily we believed it. So tell me, is Sims finally choosing a side, or is he playing something longer? Drop your theory below. Drop your theory in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more Silo analysis every week.